How to actually be done with doom scrolling. In this video, I'm going to share 9 ways that can finally help you break out of that scrolling cycle. These tips have personally helped me, and they're practical things that you can start doing literally today. We've all wasted hours of each day of our lives mindlessly scrolling, consuming content. It's frying our brains, killing our attention span. It messes with our moods and mental health. We're constantly being fed so much information that we're actually basing our opinions on what the algorithm shows us, and that's quite a worrying thought. And it ultimately robs us of the time that we could be using to build the lives that we actually want and just exist in the real world. And here's the thing, in order to reverse the damaging effects of doom scrolling, we don't need to do a complete detox. We don't need to quit using our phones or quit social media entirely. It's more about taking your time and attention back bit by bit so we can use that to be more productive or just do other things. And you don't have to follow every tip. You can literally choose the ones that are relevant for you right now. These tips have genuinely helped me as someone who used to feel so overwhelmed, overstimulated, and guilty every time I think about the hours that I just spend on my phone. But after slowly incorporating the tips that I'll share with you, I feel so much better about social media. I've significantly reduce my time scrolling, and now I can actually enjoy being on social media. I feel more in control, less drained, and even inspired. And honestly, that is the beauty of social media. It's meant to help us feel connected, inspired, informed, but we need space. So in order to actually enjoy and really learn from social media, it is important to learn how to use it so you're the one in control, and that starts when we slowly reduce our time mindlessly scrolling. So I hope you enjoy the video. I hope these tips help you. Let's jump in. It's 21 degrees. That is so much better. Okay. So the first few tips are going to be easy but effective, and they're going to be around how you can set up your phone for success. And the first is to turn off notifications, because a lot of the times we all probably subconsciously just open up these social media applications and we don't need any more triggers to help us do just that. And when we see a notification from that purpley gradient and black and white icons on our phones, we naturally want to open that up, and we end up opening the app and just mindlessly scrolling, and sometimes I even forget to actually check the notification. So a simple way to reduce that trigger is just to silence it, or at least set up your notifications in a way so that it's limited and not so in your face. So for example, on iPhones you can set up focus sessions so that only notifications from certain apps will show up on your main screen. All of the notifications for all of the other apps, unless they're specifically silenced, will appear in the notification center, and that requires you to swipe up or swipe down. It creates more friction for you to be able to access it. And this has been really good for me, because whenever I want to go on my phone to do a specific task that is not social media, I'm able to just unlock my phone and do the task without seeing notifications, and it just helps you be a bit more intentional with the way you use your phone. And it will also help you stop feeling the need to check your phone for a notification every couple of minutes. The next tip is one that has tremendously helped me stop scrolling at the times when I need to focus and actually be productive, and that is using app blocking applications. And these are essentially productivity applications that help you focus by blocking out certain applications like social media. I use the Forest app, which I paid for, but there are other applications. I believe on Android there's a built-in digital well-being feature that is free and essentially allows you to do the same thing by limiting the usage of certain applications. But personally for me, the one-time £5 fee that I paid to download the Forest app, easily one of the best investments I made last year. It allows me to start a focus session, restricts my access to applications that aren't on my allow list, and the digital tree grows while I'm focusing. So applications like Instagram and TikTok are obviously blocked out for me. And honestly, I had known about the Forest app for as long as I can remember, since I was in school studying, but I just never thought that I would need to use it until it was about last year when I started to become more self-aware, or maybe just more annoyed that I was wasting so much time on social media. I wasn't getting things done, so that's when I decided to download it. And speaking from experience, these applications can really work, because sometimes I start a focus session and about like 10 minutes in, my mind just starts to wander, and before I know it, I'm on my phone and I'm hit with this message. But the Forest app has actually helped me snap back to reality so many times and just help me focus and do the thing that I actually intended to do. And something that's really helped me as well is when I know I need to focus, I'll just start a focus session before I even feel ready, just so I don't have the time to talk myself out of it or to get distracted. It cost me £5, and my time being productive is worth way more than that. The next tip is to just delete the applications. And this is particularly good if you're not intending to use the applications for a longer period of time. It prevents you from mindlessly opening up an application because it's just not there, and it gives you time to actually think about whether it's something that you really want to do, and if you do, it will require you to download it again creating more friction. So essentially it's just out of sight, out of mind. And yeah, I would recommend this tip if you are looking to not use the application for a longer period or for an occasion, because for example, if you were constantly using that tip to limit your usage every day, you're constantly deleting and re-downloading. It kind of defeats the purpose of deleting the application and having to re-download it again, because you're doing it so much that you're so used to it, and eventually that process will become so automatic to you. So I would only recommend to delete the app if you're serious about not using it for a while or for a specific occasion like going on holiday, for example. Now, the next few tips are going to be around things that you can do instead of scrolling. And the first is to find other things to do on your phone, things that are actually fun and useful. Decreasing the time we spend scrolling on our phone does not mean having to quit using our phones completely. Sometimes we need a little distraction and stimulation, and our phones are really handy for that because it's just so accessible. So if you ever feel the need to have a break and need a quick distraction or stimulation, these are some of the things that you could do. You can play a chill game like a word puzzle, you can listen to a podcast or watch a YouTube video. You're looking for more longer form content, so you're still using your phone but in a way that feels more intentional and less draining, and you're actually getting something out of it. If it's like a word puzzle, you're training your brain. If you're listening to a podcast or watching longer form content on YouTube, you're training your attention span. I don't really play any games at the moment, but I'd love to start doing so. I do try to do the Wordle every day, and if I don't guess the word within 2 guesses, then I'll just leave it and come back to it hours later. So I always have something to kind of go back on. So sometimes I use that as like a quick stimulation. Whatever you choose, it should just be engaging enough that you're not tempted to go on social media. And while other apps can be a good alternative to scrolling, a great alternative is to have a hobby, but one that you like and one that you can consistently do. Hobbies are one of the best things you can have and do for yourselves. Not only do you learn so many new things, but it's so good for our mental health. And I know sometimes it's really hard to find the time to even just do life, let alone have a hobby. But if you're watching this video, it's likely that you spend a lot of time on your phone. A study showed that the average time a person spends on their phone doom scrolling is 3 hours a day. That's quite a lot. That's 21 hours in 1 week. But you know what's also around 20 hours? The 20-hour rule, which basically states that anyone can be proficient in a new skill with just 20 hours of focused and deliberate practice. And of course, we don't want to completely replace the hours we spend scrolling on social media with hours spent on a hobby, because hobbies can be a bit draining too. But the point is that if you stop dedicating your time doom scrolling, you could actually have time to do something for yourself that's even better for you. And if you don't have a hobby, congratulations, because you can explore. So many cool hobbies are out there. Painting, baking, trying out a new sport, learning how to DJ. There are so many hobbies out there, and you just have to pick one that you are really interested in. If you already have a hobby but are not drawn to it as much because you're not as interested, try to find other ways to make it work for you. If it doesn't, then experiment with other hobbies. So for example, one of my hobbies is reading, and sometimes I get into a reading slump, but in order to avoid that, I know that I'm a mood reader and I need to read books that I'm in a mood for, essentially. So if I know I don't have the mental capacity to read a long fantasy book, for example, I'm gonna try and not read a fantasy book and read something that's easy. The point is to have a hobby that you find engaging and that you could do consistently. And once you find that, you'd be surprised how much time you spend on your hobby instead of just going on your phone. Another thing we can do instead of scrolling is to do the things that we actually need to get done. Win our to-do list. And I know it's easier said than done, but it's always better done than perfect. Meaning you don't have to go from the comfort of scrolling on your own phone straight to a deep declutter of your room. No. Instead, you can start with small tasks. So for example, you can finally clear out that one part in your room that you know will take 2 minutes, but for some reason it's taking you weeks. I don't know why we're like this. I'm like this all the time. There's always tasks around the house that will literally take me a minute or 2 max, and I just leave it. But I am trying to follow this rule that's like, if it takes 2 minutes to do, just do it, and you'll feel so much better. But for some reason, we're just so good at procrastinating even the most simple tasks. So yes, that is what we're going to do now. And it's crazy because when you do each task, you feel good. You get that small dopamine hit. It's small, but it's a good dopamine hit. And the more you start accomplishing these small little tasks, you're training yourself to want to do more and bigger tasks. And eventually the dopamine hit and the satisfaction you'll get from prioritizing the things on your to-do list will be more attractive than the thought of you going on your phone. The next tip is one I really like because I think it's so freeing, and that is to leave your phone alone when you don't need it. Be present. Okay, so I feel like we treat our phones as though they're an extension of our physical bodies and we need it to do everything. Yeah, they're pretty essential, but it's not something that is giving us life and something that we need to use all the time. We don't need to have it out while we're eating. We don't need to bring it with us to the toilet. We don't need to use it while we're out with our friends. Again, it might seem like a hard thing to do, because it is, because of the way we're so used to having it with us all the time. But like with anything, the more you do it, the easier it will get, and it's so worth it, because you'll realize that you can leave your phone out of certain situations in your life and not only survive but be present and enjoy more. A few years ago I was at home when I decided that I wanted to do a month of having my meals without consuming content. So no phones, no YouTube, Netflix, nothing while I'm enjoying my meal. And it was a bit hard at first because I was so used to always having something there while I'm eating, something stimulating. But eventually it got easier and it just felt normal. And then I did it for a month, and because I was thinking, wow, that was actually quite hard at first, but I did it and I feel so proud of myself that I just wanted to continue doing that. So ever since then I just stopped. It's now been years of me just eating my meal, appreciating it, enjoying it without being on my phone or watching a YouTube video. Be present. You don't need your phone for everything that you do. I promise it'll get easier and you'll feel more at peace and present. This brings me nicely to the next tip: practicing mindfulness. Being aware and present of the current moment. And this trains your brain to not mindlessly wander to doom scrolling, because it helps you be more aware of your own thoughts and urges. You can practice mindfulness by focusing on one thing at a time. Similar to the previous tip, be present and concentrate on the one task that you're meant to be doing. Pay attention to your senses when you're experiencing that one thing. If you're on a walk, for example, instead of thinking about the millions of things that you need to do when you get home, I'm so guilty of that. Pay attention to your surroundings, what we see, hear, feel about it. And while we're doing these things, just pay attention to your thoughts and see when they start to just wander off. By practicing mindfulness, you're ultimately improving your ability to concentrate. Therefore, your brain won't feel as scattered and you won't feel the need to indulge in short form content. We're slowly trying to increase our attention spans, which is a very rare commodity now. So if you're still watching this video and you've watched it from the start, I applaud you. I also give you a virtual hug because you're watching my video and I appreciate you. Now we've come to the last tip in this video, which is be okay with doing nothing. We live in the world that is overstimulated and overconsumed. We have easy and instant access to an incredible amount of information, and we're so used to being stimulated at every possible moment that when we are doing nothing it feels weird and uncomfortable. But it's so important to overcome that initial discomfort and get your own space back. Use that time to process your thoughts and your emotions in a healthy way, or just use it to do nothing and just clear your mind. Being okay with doing nothing teaches us to become more focused, patient and grounded. It gives us the opportunity to think for ourselves, and the more you realize you're okay to be doing nothing sometimes, the less need you'll feel to scroll. It's ironic because sometimes I feel the need to scroll because there's just so much going on in my mind and I just need to scroll to just distract those thoughts of mine. But really that's actually making it worse. It's just giving me more things to think about. And the best thing to do when you're in that situation, when you're overthinking, is to just stop and do nothing, and to try to process your thoughts in a healthy way, or to just try things like journaling or meditation so that you're clearing your mind instead of doing the complete opposite. So that is definitely one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, is just being okay with doing nothing and just sitting with your own thoughts. So those are the 9 tips that I wanted to share with you today that can help you stop doom scrolling. Again, the point isn't to stop scrolling or stop using social media completely. The point is to not scroll too much to the point where you're not getting stuff done and it's ruining your mental health. Scrolling and social media aren't inherent evils. Social media can be a really beautiful platform that helps you connect with people, information, and exposes you to content that is funny and comforting. But it should definitely not be overconsumed to the point that we forget to sometimes connect with the real world. It should not be taking up so much of our precious time. And when we can manage our time so that we can be more intentional for when we go on social media and scroll, we can enjoy it more. If you've tried any of these tips and they've helped you, or if you have any other tips that you'd like to share, please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I felt really good about making it because I think it's a really important topic. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye!